Fifth. This first story is called The Man Who Would Stay Home. This man was a grumpy old dude, constantly complaining and bitching to his wife about how she never did enough work. And one day he came home from the field and she had not finished the butter. And so he became really angry and irate and started screaming and complaining about how he always has to do the work around this place. And so she's like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 chill out, man, chill out. Let's let's make a deal. Tomorrow I'll go out with the mowers and get the hay, and you stay home and deal with all the stuff at the house." Well, the man thinking to himself, "Oh yeah, this is gonna be nice and sweet." So he's like, "All right, yeah, let's do this." And so the next day, the morning, the good wife left. She took the scythe and went out with the mowers to deal with the hay, and the man thinking to himself, "All right, I got the house to myself. I'll get the butter done, get that over with, and then a couple little chores here and there, and I'll have the rest of the day to myself." So he grabs the churn and sits down on the porch and starts churning away and churning away and churning away, and eventually gets hot and thirsty. So he's like, "All right, well, I'm gonna go down for a second and get some beer off the tap." And he runs downstairs and is pouring himself a glass of beer, and all of a sudden he hears rustling upstairs, and he realizes the pigs were out, and he became all excited because he didn't want the pigs to knock over the churn. And so he ran upstairs with the tap in hand, and even before he was able to get there, the pig had knocked down the churn and was lapping up the sweet cream that was poured all over the porch. Well, he became so irate that he ended up kicking the pig off the porch and killing it right there on the spot. Well, now they had no butter and mess all over the porch, pig killed, and he looks down at his hands and he realizes he still has the tap in his hands. So he's like, "Shit." So he runs downstairs and there's just beer everywhere. It is spilled everywhere. So now he's just messes everywhere, no butter. And so he goes back into the larder and finds that there's a little bit more cream and takes that back up and upturns the churn and pours the milk in and starts churning again. And while he's doing that, he remembers that he hadn't let the cows out, and it's pretty late in the morning. So he's about to go do that when he sees their kid crawling around. And rather than leave the churn to be knocked over again, he decides to strap it on his back and head out to the cows. And when he gets there, he decides that, well, I better get him some water first before I send him out to the field. So he goes over to the well and drops a bucket down in there, and he's pulling it back up and leaning over. And as he's leaning over, the cream that's on his back ends up spilling down into the well, making a huge mess. So now he's irate and furious, and he's got cream all over his shoulders and neck and head, and he doesn't know what to do. And so he decides, screw it. I'm just going to take the cow out. But by this time, he's exhausted and tired and doesn't want to walk all the way out to the field. And as he's looking around, he realizes that his green roof has, the grass is really long, and figures, yeah, I'll just put a plank across and let the cow get up there and chew away at the roof. And then I can see about making some porridge for dinner. So he sets this all up, gets the cow on the roof, and cow seems pretty happy at this point. So he goes inside and gets a big pot of water and puts it over the fire and starts boiling away to put the porridge in. And he starts to think, what happens if the cow falls off the roof? So now he's freaking out because he's thinking the cow's going to fall off and kill itself. He already killed the pig. So he runs out and ties a rope to the cow and throws it down the chimney and goes back in the house to deal with the porridge and straps the rope around his leg. And he's like, well, at least there'll be dinner, at least there'll be dinner. And so after a few minutes, he's put the porridge into the pot and starting to boil, and the cow ends up falling off and yanking the man off his feet and pulling up into the chimney. Well, meanwhile, the wife's been out all day and into the night, and she just keeps waiting and waiting for her husband to call him back from the field, and he doesn't come. So she just decides, all right, well, let's call it a day and to wrap it up. And she walks back to the cottage, and she sees that the cow is hanging halfway off the roof. And so she's just shaking her head and ends up cutting the cow down. And when she didn't go inside, um, she came to find her husband had fallen in the pot and his head was sticking in the porridge. And so it is. The story ends.